The Guardians of the Globe are the most powerful superhero team on the planet, but the single greatest threat they ever faced wasn't an alien invasion or a supervillain. It was their own teammate. Today I'm breaking down every Guardian of the Globe in Invincible and everything you need to know about them, starting with the man who killed them all, Omni-Man. Nolan Grayson is a Viltrumite warrior. That's important. Not a hero who happens to be strong, not an alien who chose Earth out of kindness. A soldier deployed to our planet with one job: soften it up for conquest. Everything else, the marriage, the book deals, the years of fighting alongside Earth's greatest heroes, was cover. And honestly, it was really good cover. For years, Omni-Man operated as one of the most powerful members of the Guardians of the Globe. He fought beside them, bled beside them, and earned their complete trust, which is exactly what made what happened next so efficient. He called a fake emergency. Every Guardian showed up expecting a threat. The threat was him. He snapped War Woman's neck. He decapitated the Immortal. He smashed Red Rush and Aquarus's heads together like they were nothing. He killed every single one of them in minutes. The most powerful superhero team on Earth wiped out by their own colleague in their own building, which is, not ideal. But here's where it gets complicated. Nolan wasn't supposed to care about Earth. He was supposed to weaken it, prepare it for Viltrumite takeover, and move on. The problem was Debbie Grayson. The problem was Mark. His wife and son created something the Viltrum Empire never accounted for: genuine emotional attachment. Thousands of years of warrior conditioning, and a human family broke through all of it. After abandoning his mission and spending a year in isolation, Nolan joined the coalition of planets to fight against his own people. The guy who murdered Earth's protectors became one of the galaxy's most important defenders. Let that sit for a second. He's simultaneously the most powerful ally the team ever had, and the sole reason the team had to be rebuilt from scratch. Every single person on this list exists because of what Nolan did that night. He's the original sin of the Guardians of the Globe. Every hero who came after, every death, every desperate recruitment traces back to one Viltrumite who was too strong for anyone to stop and too conflicted to finish what he started. But if Omni-Man is the reason the Guardians fell, then the next person is the reason they refused to stay dead. The Immortal. The Immortal is basically what happens when you give an ancient warrior over 3,000 years of experience and then make him watch everything he loves get destroyed anyway. His origin is deceptively simple. Thousands of years ago, a warrior stumbled across a mysterious spiral of energy, reached out and touched it, because apparently curiosity didn't kill the cat this time, and was granted immortality, flight, superhuman strength, and durability. Just like that, one weird glowing spiral and you're set for eternity. Now, what do you do with 3,000 years of free time? Apparently, you become the President of the United States. The Immortal lived as Abraham Lincoln, the 16th president, married Mary Todd, led a nation through civil war, and then got shot in the head by John Wilkes Booth at Ford's Theater, which would normally be the end of the story. But he just got back up, quietly resurrected, slipped away from public life, and kept on going. I don't know what to tell you. The man survived an assassination that's in every history textbook, and nobody noticed he walked it off. By the modern era, he was the natural leader of the original Guardians of the Globe. Millennia of combat experience, tactical wisdom accumulated across entire civilizations rising and falling, and the kind of authority you can only earn by literally outliving everyone who's ever disagreed with you. He was the backbone of that team, and then Omni-Man punched his heart clean out of his chest and ripped him in half. Here's where it gets dark. The Mahler twins, a pair of criminal geneticists, resurrected him using cutting-edge genetic manipulation technology. So the Immortal wakes up knowing that his friend murdered him, that criminals brought him back, and that everything he built is gone. Cool, that's a great start to your second life. He resumed leadership of the Guardians 2.0 after Robot was removed for general underperformance. But the Immortal who came back wasn't the same man. 3,000 years of experience couldn't prepare him for being betrayed by a teammate, killed, and then stitched back together by villains. He carried severe, unprocessed psychological trauma that bled into every decision he made. Then, Duplicate, his girlfriend, was apparently torn in half by the Lizard League, and that was the thing that finally broke him. A man who survived millennia of human history, who walked away from his own presidential assassination, who came back from being literally ripped in two, was undone by grief. He took a leave of absence from the team, unable to lead, unable to function. Immortality keeps your body intact. It doesn't do a single thing for your mind. But if the Immortal's story is tragic, wait until you hear about the teammate who never even got a second chance. War Woman. Here's the thing about War Woman. She's the one death from the Guardian massacre that the universe never corrected. The Immortal got stitched back together by the Mahler twins twins and walked it off. War Woman? Gone. Permanently. And that matters more than people realize. Her real name was Holly, and she wasn't even from this dimension. She was a princess from an alternate realm, born into royalty, with every reason to stay there and live comfortably for the rest of her existence. Her mother disapproved of her leaving. The realm she came from wanted her to stay, and Holly looked at all of that, looked at Earth, a planet full of strangers with zero obligation to protect, and said, "No, I'm going there instead." That's abandoning everything you've ever known for a world that will never fully understand what you gave up. On Earth, she became one of the most formidable combatants the planet had ever seen. Superhuman durability, agility, stamina, and roughly 60 tons of lifting strength, putting her comfortably in the same weight class as the heaviest hitters on the original roster. She wasn't just muscle either. War Woman functioned as co-leader alongside the Immortal, earning deep respect through her tactical mind and decisive nature. Teammates followed her. She was the steady hand you wanted next to you when everything went sideways. And then Omni-Man snapped her neck. During the massacre, Darkwing tried to distract the Viltrumite long enough to save her. It didn't work. It didn't even come close. One moment she was fighting, the next she was dead, and centuries of warrior experience died with her. No resurrection, no Mauler twins showing up with a convenient science project, no second chance. That's what makes her death hit differently than the Immortals. He came back. She didn't. Two leaders, same team, same massacre, same killer. One gets to live again, the other is just gone. The new Guardians needed someone like her desperately. Not just her strength, but her perspective. An interdimensional princess who chose duty over comfort, who understood threats from angles nobody else on the team was equipped to consider. That knowledge, that experience, that alien worldview, all of it evaporated the second Nolan's hands closed around her throat. War Woman is the permanent cost of that night. The Immortal is proof that some people get lucky. She's proof that most don't. But if War Woman represents what was lost from the old guard, the new roster had its own share of members who never got the ending they deserved, starting with the loudest one in the room, Rex Splode. Every team has that one guy, the cocky one, the loudmouth who throws exploding coins at people and acts like he invented the concept of being cool. Rex Splode is that guy, and on the surface, he's exactly as shallow as he looks. Flashy powers, big ego, zero filter. But here's the thing, Rex Splode might be the most tragic character on the entire roster, and nobody gives him enough credit for it. Let's start with his origin, because it's genuinely horrifying. Rex wasn't born into heroism, he was purchased. As an infant, his family was destitute, and a shadowy government organization literally bought him like livestock, then subjected him to experimental modification that rewired his molecular biology. The result was the ability to charge any object's molecules to explosive instability through physical contact, coins, fridge magnets, a handful of gravel. Anything Rex touches becomes a bomb, which is, a fantastic power to give a child you bought from impoverished parents. Really heartwarming stuff. But what people consistently overlook about Rex is his intelligence. During the Flaxan invasion, while everyone else was busy punching aliens in the face, Rex was the one who identified the wristbands as important. The Flaxans wore specialized devices that prevented them from aging rapidly in Earth's atmosphere, because their species deteriorates at an accelerated rate outside their home dimension. Rex clocked those wristbands as the critical vulnerability. Robot ultimately figured out how to neutralize them using a frequency emission, but Rex spotting the weak point in the middle of a war zone isn't something a dumb guy does. That's sharp thinking under pressure from someone everyone had already written off as the team idiot. When Rex eventually discovered the truth about his origins and confronted his parents directly, it changed him. Finding out you were sold as an infant and engineered like a weapon tends to reshape how you see yourself, but none of that compares to how Rex Splode died. During the Invincible War, alternate dimension variants of Mark Grayson invaded Earth simultaneously, each one nearly as powerful as the original. The Guardians were overwhelmed, outmatched, and Rex, the guy everyone dismissed as the shallow one, made a choice nobody else could make. He charged his own skeleton, his entire skeletal system supercharged to maximum explosive capacity. He turned his own body into a weapon, detonated himself, and eliminated an invading Invincible variant in the blast. A government-made weapon chose to become a person, and that person chose to die for his friends. After his death, his best friend Robot honored him by adopting the name Rex. Just Rex. Which only hits as hard as it does because you realize Robot, the emotionally stunted genius who struggled to understand human connection his entire life, loved Rex enough to carry his name forward. But if Rex's story made you emotional, wait until you hear about the teammate cursed to get younger every time she transforms. Monster Girl? A girl who can turn into a giant monster sounds like the coolest power in the entire Invincible universe. And honestly, it is, until you learn what it costs her every single time she uses it. Amanda got cursed during her senior year of high school because her Romanian boyfriend's grandmother didn't approve of the relationship. That's it. That's the origin story. No ancient prophecy, no cosmic entity, no radioactive spider. A grandma got mad about her grandson's girlfriend and placed a supernatural hex on a strand of Amanda's hair, which is a proportional response. The curse granted her the ability to transform into a massive ogre-like creature capable of lifting over 60 tons with supernatural durability and a regenerative healing factor that makes her one of the most physically powerful members of the Guardians. In monster form, Amanda can take hits that would kill most heroes and walk them off like a minor inconvenience. She's essentially a one-woman wrecking crew. But here's the thing, nobody tells you about the cool monster transformation. Every single time Amanda reverts back to her human form, her body de-ages by approximately 24 hours of biological time. One transformation, one day younger. She is chronologically 26 years old, but physically appears to be roughly 12. Every fight she wins, every teammate she saves, every time she does her job as a Guardian, she loses another day of her life in reverse. Use the power enough times and she doesn't die of old age. She dies of no age. She just stops existing. That's Invincible's signature move, right there. Take something that sounds awesome on paper and then reveal the horrifying fine print underneath. Robot eventually identified the mechanism behind the curse, and his explanation is genuinely fascinating. He determined that the hex contained what he described as a computational bug, a flaw in the magical programming that rebuilds Amanda's body with an incorrect temporal offset during each reversion. Basically, the curse reconstructs her physical form after every transformation, but keeps referencing the wrong timestamp, rolling her biology backward each time, like a save file that keeps loading an older and older backup, and Robot, being Robot, actually fixed it. He engineered a specialized temporal correction belt that creates a digital copy of Amanda's cellular structures before each transformation. When the curse tries to rebuild her body using its broken reference point, the belt feeds it the copied data instead, tricking the hex into using accurate biological information. The de-aging stops. Problem solved. Except fixing Amanda's problem opened an entirely different door. The belt's success led to a genuine romantic relationship between Monster Girl and Robot, which is sweet until you realize what it motivated him to do next. Robot's feelings for Amanda directly influenced his decision to clone himself a new body using Rexplode's DNA, a choice that would compromise every moral boundary he had left. Amanda got her life back, but the person who saved her used that victory as a stepping stone towards something far more disturbing. Speaking of which, let's talk about the genius who built that belt, because Robot's story makes Monster Girl's curse look straightforward. Robot is not a robot, and that's not a joke or a technicality. The leader of the new Guardians of the Globe, the tactical genius coordinating Earth's second line of defense, is a severely deformed man named Rudolph Connors, trapped inside a life support pod, piloting mechanical bodies with his mind. Rudy was born with physical deformities so severe that his body literally cannot survive outside a containment tank. His organs don't function properly. His limbs are essentially vestigial, and he's been hooked up to machines since birth. But here's the thing, his brain is enormous. An oversized cerebrum granting him genius-level intellect so far beyond normal human cognition that he makes most scientists look like they're still working on long division. So he did what any reasonable person trapped in a glass box would do. He built remote-controlled robot bodies and operated them through a telepathic mental link, projecting himself into the world because his real body was never going to let him walk through a door. He led the teen team first, then got recruited to lead the Guardians 2.0 after Omni-Man turned the original roster into a crime scene. Smartest person in the room, every room, always. His strategic capability was borderline precognitive, but leadership isn't just about knowing the optimal play. It's about managing people, and Rudy could not do that to save his life. Massive property damage, civilian casualties stacking up, and eventually the team had enough. He got stripped of leadership. But here's where it gets genuinely unsettling. Rudy didn't just want to lead better. He wanted to be human, a body that could exist outside a tank, touch things, be with someone. So he hired the Mahler twins, two criminal scientists with a combined moral compass of approximately 0, to clone him a new body. Except they couldn't clone his original form without reproducing the same catastrophic medical conditions. So Rudy used Rexplode's DNA as the genetic template instead. His best friend's DNA, without asking, without telling him, without a single conversation about consent. The clone body worked. Rudy transferred his consciousness into it, and then his original body, the deformed one that had kept him alive for his entire miserable existence, died in the pod, just like that. Rudy killed himself to become someone else, wearing his best friend's face. This is the moment Robot's brilliance became indistinguishable from villainy. He manipulated criminals, stole genetic material from someone who trusted him, and orchestrated the death of his own original body, all to get what he wanted. Every decision Robot makes follows the same logic. Identify the optimal outcome, then remove every obstacle regardless of who gets used along the way. He doesn't do it out of malice. He genuinely cannot process why anyone would object. When the Immortal later took a grief-induced leave of absence, Robot got reappointed as leader, because despite everything, nobody else could do the job. His strategic mind was simply too valuable to bench over something as inconvenient as ethics. And that's the fundamental tension of Robot's entire existence. Magnificent and sociopathic in equal measure, capable of solving problems nobody else can even identify while being completely incapable of understanding why his methods make everyone around him deeply uncomfortable. If you think that's a complicated legacy for one Guardian, wait until you meet the one who can be in 100 places at once. Duplicate. Duplicate's power sounds simple. She makes copies of herself. Cool, moving on. Except no, because the second you actually think about how her ability works, it becomes one of the most philosophically unsettling powers in the entire Invincible universe. Catherine Kate Cha can create up to 100 independent duplicate copies of herself, all operating simultaneously in perfect coordination. But here's where it gets complicated. Each duplicate retains the full mass of the original. They're not splitting one person into 100 smaller pieces. Every single clone is a complete, full-weight Catherine Cha, and every clone shares telepathic sensory and emotional experiences with every other clone. If one of them stubs her toe, all 100 of them feel it, which raises an uncomfortable question the show never directly answers, but absolutely wants you to think about. Which one is the real Kate? The ability stems from an ancient family curse, one she shares with her twin brother, Multipol. Same power, same supernatural origin, wildly different life choices. Kate became a guardian of the globe. Multipol became an elite assassin for a secret criminal organization called the Order. Same curse, same family dinner table, completely opposite moral trajectories. It's the dark mirror you didn't know you needed. Now, her relationship with the Immortal. This one sneaks up on you. It starts as something primarily physical, casual enough that Rex Splode openly mocks the Immortal for it, but over time, it deepens into something genuinely loving. And that's where the emotional gut punch gets loaded into the chamber. The Immortal is a 1,000-year-old man who has watched literally every person he's ever cared about grow old and die. Every friend, every wife, every child, and then he falls for someone who can exist as 100 versions of herself simultaneously. Someone who might be functionally unkillable through sheer duplication. For the first time in his impossibly long life, he found someone who might actually stick around, and then she dies anyway. During an encounter with the Lizard League, Kate's primary body was torn in half, not injured, torn in half. The Immortal completely fell apart, abandoning his leadership of the Guardians and spiraling into grief so deep he couldn't function. A man who survived being Abraham Lincoln, who came back from literal decapitation, was broken by losing her. But here's the kicker. In the comics, Kate survived, because if every duplicate shares full consciousness with the original, and the clones persist as long as she wills them to exist, then destroying the primary body doesn't actually kill her. She just continues living through her duplicates. The original body becomes irrelevant. Kate's apparent death was exactly that, apparent. The television adaptation hasn't confirmed whether it'll follow this path. As of now, Kate's fate in the show remains ambiguous, which is either brilliant suspense or genuinely cruel, depending on how long they make us wait. Either way, Duplicate represents something rare in superhero fiction, a power that seems straightforward until you realize it's actually a philosophical thought experiment about identity, consciousness, and what it even means to be you. The fact that the show wraps all of that inside a love story with a 1,000-year-old immortal warrior is not an accident. But if you think Kate's story is tragic, wait until you hear about the Guardian who could shrink down to the size of an ant and still somehow ended up with one of the most brutal deaths in the entire series. Shrinking Ray. On paper, Shrinking Ray sounds like one of the most useful heroes you could possibly recruit. Real name Rachel. She was a solo hero with the ability to instantly reduce her body to virtually any size, from doll scale to child scale to full-on insect scale, while retaining her complete human-level strength at every single size. Think about that for a second. An ant-sized woman who can punch like a full-grown adult. That's infiltration, espionage, and escapology rolled into one incredibly versatile package. Robot clearly thought so too, because he recruited her through his rigorous audition process to join the new Guardians 2.0 after the original roster got wiped off the map, and honestly, she earned her spot. Her size shifting gave the team tactical flexibility they couldn't get anywhere else. Need someone inside a locked facility? Rachel. Need someone to slip past defenses undetected? Rachel. She was the skeleton key of the group, but here's where it gets dark, and I mean genuinely, stomach-churningly dark. During the Lizard League encounter, Shrinking Ray was fighting alongside the rest of the team against enemies that should have been manageable. Should have been. Komodo Dragon, the Lizard League's heaviest hitter, swallowed her whole, just opened his mouth and consumed her like she was nothing. Now, Rachel had a plan. She shrank down to insect size inside his body with the intention of expanding back to full size. size, which theoretically should have torn him apart from the inside out. Solid counter tactic. Makes perfect sense. It almost didn't work. Komodo dragon's superhuman abdominal muscles were strong enough to slow her expansion, compressing her body as she tried to grow, nearly crushing her before she could reach full size. She was trapped inside another living being, getting squeezed to death in real time with zero guarantee of rescue. Nobody on the outside could reach her. Nobody could do anything but watch. She survived, barely. But the fact that she came that close to being digested alive inside a monster's stomach isn't exactly a win you celebrate. That's the kind of near-death experience that rewires your brain permanently. And this is a franchise where people get punched through buildings and decapitated on a Tuesday. So the fact that her almost death still stands out as one of the most viscerally horrifying moments tells you everything. What makes it worse is knowing what comes after. Rachel stays on the team. She eventually develops a romantic relationship with Rexplode, which means she chose to keep fighting alongside people she cared about on a roster where the survival rate is, let's call it, not encouraging. She looked at what nearly happened to her and decided to stay anyway. And here's the thing that makes Shrinking Ray's story hit different from every other entry on this list. She wasn't an interdimensional princess. She wasn't an immortal Celtic warrior with 3,000 years of combat experience. She wasn't a genius in a robot body or a cursed shapeshifter. She was just a talented person who showed up to an audition, made the team, tried her absolute best, and nearly got eaten alive for it. That's the difference between the old Guardians and the new ones. The originals were legends, the replacements were people, and the threats didn't care about the distinction. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more, click the video on the screen now.